Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Talking Star Wars EU. I'm joined today by Logan Likes Legends. He's a passionate expanded universe fan. He has a sizable uh, fan base on TikTok, and he's been spreading some awesome Star Wars lore there. It's absolutely great stuff. I've been browsing through that the last several days, and it's really cool. So I'm really glad to have him on today to talk about how he got into Star Wars. Thank you for joining me today, man. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great right now.
I'm really happy that we were able to make this work and get you on for a discussion because we've talked a few times on like the Discord servers and stuff, and you've always seemed like a really cool guy, and I've always really enjoyed hearing your perspectives and takes. So I'm honored to have you on now. It's gonna be
Thank you.
fun.
I'm honored too.
Yeah. I'm super excited about this. The way these videos start off is with me asking what your first memory of Star Wars is, how you got into the Star Wars universe. So tell us your story.
My parents, they didn't like Star Wars, so I was never introduced to it. I kind of had to discover it myself. So I remember growing up in a world where Star Wars existed, but I'm outside of it.
Yeah.
So I would just see the aesthetics, see stuff like, oh, this looks cool. Here, pop culture. Oh, lightsaber, Darth Vader, Chewbacca, R2. Don't know what it means. I just know it's from something. And I remember my earliest um, was probably we went to Costco and I saw the DVDs for Star Wars, and I got three of them. And I didn't know what it was. I just thought it looked cool on the cover, and so it was Revenge of the Sith, Attack of the Clones, and Empire Strikes Back. That was the three, and so I watched them. I didn't know it was a series, so I just thought they're individual movies. I remember I liked three a lot. I remember I had my toys, and I would reenact Battle of Kashyyyk with my toys. That was my favorite. But I had never seen the other three outside of that, and so that was probably 2006, early 2006, and 2007. That's when I really got into Star Wars. I remember I owned one of those plug and plays. Um, it was like the Millennium Falcon one, and
Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember I
Gotcha.
remember playing that on the TV. The Empire Strikes Back one was pretty cool, but what really got me into it, we went to this grocery store, and I bought one of those vehicles, the Hasbro. It was the homing spider droid, and I thought it was
Nice.
really cool. And what got me into Star Wars was inside they have those little paper foldables where it shows all the figures, and just seeing all the characters, I was like, this looks amazing. I want to get into this. So that's when I really took the deep dive when I was 6 or 7. Um, my mom, she would take me to her office and put me in a vacant office, put me on the computer, StarWars.com, and I would
Yeah.
just go through all the games, the database, the databank, whatever it was called back then. Um,
Yeah.
every article, would read every article. But my big thing was I didn't know where this stuff was coming from. I didn't really have a concept of like the expanded universe, and like I had only had the movies. I didn't own any books, no comics, no. Didn't see the 2003 Clone Wars, but I kept getting figures from this content. So I remember my first action figure was probably the heavy ARC Trooper from 2003 with
Nice.
the backpack gun, and I remember
Yeah.
uh, Yoda and Kaibuck, um, the Moncal and the Quarren.
Those are such cool figures.
Yeah, so because I remember we would go to Toys R Us, the very first thing was Star Wars, all Hasbro. So I would just go there and grab whatever looked cool, but had no idea where it was coming from. Um, and so yeah, I remember 2008, the Clone Wars show came out, and so that was another just watching it every day on Friday, all the episodes that came out. And I think my introduction to the expanded universe was the video games. I remember um, Battlefront 2, Battlefront 1, Public Commando, Force Unleashed, all on the PS2. Um, got Republic Commando on PC, but that was probably my biggest, earliest introduction to the EU was through the games, and
Nice.
Star Wars just kept it going.
That's quite a crazy introduction to Star Wars via going. I also was a my family was also Costco shoppers, so I'd always see stuff in the like book and DVD section at Costco, and I never saw any Star Wars stuff there. But that's quite crazy that your introduction was one original trilogy movie and two prequel trilogy movies.
Out of order, yeah.
Yeah, out of order. Did you enjoy the experience even though they were out of order? You enjoyed them for what they were? What were your thoughts when you realized that they like all went together later on?
Yeah, I thought, see, my biggest thing was like obviously the action, but for me, I was really big on like the aliens, the troopers, the
Yeah.
vehicles, just everything was so unique and it was so much diversity. And I think once I was getting into Star Wars, I think my mom bought the rest of the movies online and they came in.
Yeah.
Um, I do remember I had a toothbrush. It was Pod Racer Anakin, and I had no idea what it was, but I had it before I got into Star Wars. But yeah, I had episode 1, 4, and 6. I finally got those, and then when I watched it all, um, yeah, that was just crazy. Like, oh, this is an actual thing. This isn't just action movies. It's like a whole universe.
Yeah. And did you appreciate it all the more because of that? Did it make you even more invested, interested?
Oh yeah, and just knowing like, oh, these games I'm playing, they're this is from the movie. This is what's happening in the background.
Yeah.
Just like
So
being a part of that.
so the video games were the avenue really into the expanded universe, into the Legends universe.
Hmm.
You mentioned Republic Commando, some the Battlefront games, some of these really good EU video games. What ones do you point to as your favorite video games from the expanded universe? Do they remain those first games that you played, or are there others since then that you like even more?
I remember Force Unleashed on the PS2. That was my absolute favorite, and even
Yeah,
today, it's very fond because between the PS2 and the Xbox PC version, it's different. There's more
yeah,
missions, more bosses, more places. It was just more, even though the graphics were horrible, at the time, it was probably good at the time, but it was just crazy. But my favorite part was like the data bank, reading, learning about everything I'm seeing and fighting and going to. That was the big thing. And even today, like I'm still making TikToks from that content that you don't see in the more updated games. But at the time, my favorite was definitely Republic Commando. I probably had 1,000 hours on that because like on the weekends or when I got home from school, I
oh
would play
yeah,
it all day on multiplayer. Like on a Saturday, wake up 8 a.m., play it all day to probably 7 p.m. nonstop.
awesome, awesome, great memories. I have lots of fond memories of Force Unleashed myself. Force Unleashed was my first video game, so likewise, I just remember it very fondly. But as you've been mentioning, kind of the way that you got into the EU, the StarWars.com databank really played a really crucial role in getting you invested into it. It's very unfortunate that that's not being maintained anymore for either continuity. Just it was very valuable. Uh, like combing those articles was really great, and I don't. While Wikipedia is really cool as being like fan run, the idea of like an official data bank on a website, it's just a really cool idea. I wish they were still running it. So it sounds like that just got you so much more invested into the lore to be able to read about what you were seeing. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, because I remember one of the articles. I might have the name wrong, but I think Sarsius Torn. Um, he's a guy from the holiday special in the Cantina.
Okay,
He's
gotcha.
one of the Old Republic. shadow assassins. I forgot what they're called, but just learning like, oh, he's the last of his species. They were taken out by a supernova, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like this guy, but I had never known what the holiday special was until probably years later. Found it on YouTube, watched it. But I remember that, and I remember Blue Max from Han Solo. I was like, this
Yep.
guy looks cool, but I don't know what he's coming from. Yeah.
So the data bank really opened your eyes to like all the connections, the connectivity of it, and all this
Yeah.
media out there. You mentioned the holiday special. What were your thoughts when you eventually watched that on YouTube?
So when I watched it, I think it was just confusion, but but honestly, it still has a soft spot for it. I really like the background. Well, even if on its own, it's problematic. Um, like Chewbacca's father VR experiences. Um, but Akamena, she carries. Cantina scene, great. Love
Oh,
all those background characters.
I love it.
That's
It's
the best part.
perfect.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like I after watching the holiday special, I was like kind of like how you would come through the data bank. I went to like the holiday special website that's like fan made. Now it blew my mind that like all of those background guys in the cantina like had names. Some of them even
Mhm.
had trading cards. Just crazy stuff. And like you said, Akmena, she's the
Mhm.
goat. She's the bomb.
Yeah.
She's awesome in the holiday special.
Get her
Yeah.
more hours.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Make sure you tip Akmena well if you go
Yeah.
to Chalmers Cantina. Yeah, yeah. There's so much good stuff there. So the data bank was showing you concepts that you didn't know exactly where it was from when you just
Mhm.
seen the movies and the video games. What was the first time that you kind of delved more into the books or comics or content because you were curious to see what from the data bank would be like in the movie that they appeared? Where did you follow from the data bank into actually reading some of the material itself?
So I don't think I followed it from the data bank. I think I just over time discovered piece by piece where
Yeah,
everything was from because I remember the first I don't know what came first, the comics or the books, because I remember for the comics it was the comic packs with the figures. Go to
yeah,
Walmart, I want to get an action figure. Oh, it comes with two. What a deal. I'm getting that. And it has a comic. I
yeah.
had never read comics before, Star Wars first ones. Um, I think the first one for that was it was Empire where they're on Merida and the Amonins are attacking them.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it's got a great Amonin figure. It's somewhere in my closet. I can see it right now. It's up in a bucket. But
That's a great pack.
yeah, and that's probably like one of my favorite comics. And I was like, this is amazing. So I just kept collecting the comic packs. I have the up. You can't see it, but up here on the top is the Crimson Empire. Crimson Empire.
Nice.
Um, but for the books, I remember in intermediate school, which is like fifth and sixth grade
Yep.
before middle school. In the library, there was so many EU books, and I would read them. Now, out of order, like the movies, but I remember Young Jedi Knights, um, the other Jedi Knights one. I mixed the names up for those, and Black Fleet Crisis. Um, I read a lot though. Um, Tales of the Bounty Hunters. Um, and that kept me going on the books because oh, and then the Last Jedi, the
The Michael
Obi-Wan,
Reeves book.
the
Oh,
Obi-Wan one,
the Jude
yeah,
Watson ones. Yeah,
Last of the Jedi or Last Jedi, I forget. But and then Scholastic Book Fair, going there and seeing all the books, Star Wars
yeah.
books. Yeah, I was like, Mom, I need 40 books right now. I need 40 books. I have one somewhere here. But my favorite was the blueprints in the that one was crazy. And I remember I got in
Yeah,
trouble because
yeah.
we weren't allowed to open them. So I opened it and I spread it on the floor because like I gotta see what I'm buying here. And they yelled at me. I'm like, why? I'm fine. I'm taking it. But And then the Darth Vader, the one where like it opens and it's like breaking down his armor. That one
Yeah, the
was crazy.
schematics of his armor. That's
Hmm.
so cool. I love that book. Yeah.
And that really, those really got me into the informational books. So I remember I went to NASA and I got the uh Incredible Vehicles, the blueprint ones.
Yeah.
And I remember after that, I was like, I need to get more of these books. So my mom introduced me to thrift books, and she got me for my birthday like the complete visual encyclopedia, the like all those types of books. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that really got me more into the ex- I guess expanded universe because a lot of it would touch on it.
Yeah. All of those like DK guides that like have expanded universe concepts and
Hmm.
references, all of that referential material is so good.
But they
Uh
had the one with Darth Vader on it. It was like um it was the one where it goes through like the timeline of Star Wars. I can't find it, but um and that one covered the entire EU, and that's where it finally came together. Like, oh, this is the timeline for all this content, because it would go
yeah.
like each period, like oh, after Endor, Dark Empire, all this stuff, and I was finally able to see that at one time for the first time.
Absolutely. That's awesome. It sounds like a lot of the books that you read first were a lot of like New Republic stuff. What did you think about this idea of like Leia has children and now they're in the books? And what did you think about that? All of this material was kind of set after Return of the Jedi with this new generation of characters.
To me, it seemed completely natural because, like, obviously Han and Leia are in love in Episode 6. Obviously, they're going to get married, have kids. So it
Yeah,
just seemed completely natural that this is where it's going. This is like the adventures. Even if there was some missing stuff like Truce of Bakura, I didn't get to read that until like 2 years ago. But I was still able to follow along.
yeah. That's great. That it's such an interesting thing because some people I know are kind of turned off by the idea of having kids, but I was the same way as you. I just thought it was a natural progression of the story. It just kind of made sense. As you saw finally in one of those reference books that there was kind of a breakdown of the timeline and era. Which era originally grabbed your interest? What was most appealing to you that you wanted to delve in to the most?
See, when I was a kid, it was always Clone Wars because I saw 3, and then I grew up with the entire 2008 Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Um, most of my figures were Clone Wars, so to me, it was that era. But but I was always interested in what I didn't know. So like learning about everything after 6, how far it went. I was like, this is crazy. And then the Old Republic, also, that was like, oh, this is like the Jedi. Like there's more Jedi than just the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
How long it went.
for sure, for sure. And as you've been reading all of these books, all of these comics, where do you point to for some of your favorites, some notable ones that just stick out in your mind as ones that you really enjoy for both the books and the comic books?
Um, given what I've read now, I really like obviously Thrawn trilogy is really great.
Yeah,
It just feels like its own movie, like its own trilogy. Um,
absolutely.
it just really feels Star Wars. It's not too like drastic. Um, I really liked Republic Commando, given I played the games. Ignoring the author, all that business there, but the books themselves were amazing. Getting to like learn about the soldiers, their culture,
Yeah,
attitudes, that was really great. Um, Comics, probably Empire was amazing. Dark
yeah,
Empire, I love
mm,
Dark Empire. Um, Republic was great.
yeah,
Tales, there was a lot of tales for the comic packs. I had those. Books, Labyrinth of Evil, Revenge of the Sith, um, Plagueis.
Oh yeah,
That's off the top of
of
my head.
course.
There's probably a lot more though.
Yeah, that's a lot of good answers right there. You mentioned that Republic Commando was one of the first games that you got into. So going from the game to the books, when you found out that there were books like kind of centered around the game, but like not really on the premise of the game, they're like their own thing, but connected. Were you really excited to delve into the Republic Commando books? And how do you think the game and the books work with each other? Do you think they complement each other well?
I was like, oh, this is a must because the game is just Delta Squad, but you
Yeah.
still hear about the other squads, like in the mission where they have to destroy the droid factory. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, Theta Squad, they died. And it's
Hmm.
like, who's Theta Squad? And that's the squad Darman came from, I think.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was just really cool going into the books. It starts out in Geonosis. You're like, I know this is like this is the background. I just
Yeah.
played this, and getting to see all the other squads how they interact.
Mm.
Delta Squad, everyone's kind of like, or they're like really cocky, and you
Yeah.
have all these other squads. But what was crazy to me is that they have these different cultures based on who trained them, and
Yeah.
just how they interact with different types of clones, like regulars, ARC troopers, all this stuff. It was just really great, especially the tie-in with Revenge of the Sith novel and Labyrinth of Evil. It just really connected the game. It seems like its own thing, but it just
Mm.
really connected it
Oh, a
to
fly just landed
the
on my
greater
nose.
continuity.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how that just happened. I guess that was sent by Typho Gem to disturb me. Um,
Oh yeah, Ming no.
or yeah, absolutely. Abominations from the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. Those Republic Commandos did do a good job of making the game seem tied to the prequels. I hadn't thought of it that way before, and that definitely resonates. They did a good job of doing that. Um, so it sounds like since you were very focused on the Clone Wars era, you very much enjoy clones
Mm-hmm.
as an idea, as a concept. Do you have a favorite clone trooper? Do you have a favorite branch of the clones?
Four clones. Really like the funny ones like Darman. Oh, not Darman. No, Fi,
Yeah.
however you pronounce it, and Scorch. Alpha 17. I remember like reading that comic with Alpha 17, and like
Yeah.
I just thought he was so badass that my name on Battlefront and Republic Commando, Alpha 17, the whole time.
Nice.
Before I got the Steam version, like the disc version, I was always Alpha 17. And I think that was my first Steam name too. So yeah, he was just really resonated with me, like everything Alpha 17 branded. Um Favorite branch? That'd be, it's hard because I grew up with commandos, but the ARC troopers trained by Django,
Yeah.
independent, all of them, Alpha class, Null class. I think those are probably my favorite branch.
Yeah. That the clones are very interesting. I also enjoyed the clones a lot growing up. My brother and I were Captain Rex and Commander Cody one year for
Mhm.
Halloween. I would have much preferred to be Alpha though, because
Yeah,
like you said, Alpha is just so cool. As a huge fan of those Republic comics that you mentioned earlier, just oh man, so cool. I also really found it a great choice of yours when you mentioned Empire as one of your favorite comics earlier because that one doesn't get talked as much as maybe it should. As I was rereading Empire, I was surprised how good it was because it's often overshadowed by some of the others like Republic and Legacy, KOTOR, Tales of the Jedi. What about Empire made it so great for you, so notable for you?
for me, it was probably the art. I don't remember if it's the same artist for the whole run or if they're different, but um, I don't know his name. But you know the Stark Hyperspace War, he did the art for that. So whatever that style is, whatever that artist
Yeah.
is, I really love that art because it's so detailed. And like my big thing when I was a kid was troopers because I was fascinated by just like where all these different variants, where they're placed in the hierarchy of the military. So I would draw all of them. I had books just like organizing where the troopers went,
Nice.
and he really focused on like just in the background. You see all the stuff they're doing, like all the tech and the weapons. It's just really a lot of detail, like their day to day work. But for Empire, for the story wise, it was just crazy seeing between 3 and 4 all the turmoil in the Empire getting set up, the lead up to Toprawa, the Death Star plans, all that stuff. It's it was just really like fundamental to me, at least,
Mm.
seeing how the Empire started, its early years.
Yeah. Absolutely, it's kind of important to see that it adds a lot of depth to the movies when you know how this empire was founded that's being toppled by the ragtag rebels. The art is very good. That's a great highlight there. Another comic that you mentioned that I wanted to ask some of your thoughts on is you mentioned that you love Dark Empire. Now, Dark Empire is not without its controversies. It's perhaps one of the more
They're
controversial
wrong. They're wrong.
comics in the EU. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dark Empire too, but it does get ragged on a little bit. So, what do you love about Dark Empire, and what do you think of the art? Because even people who love Dark Empire are sometimes divided on the art style for it. What are your thoughts on Dark Empire?
I think the criticism is very valid. Episode 6 is like the perfect ending.
Mm,
But for me, I don't honestly remember how I discovered Dark Empire because I remember it being like the first comic arc I read all the way through from Empire 1 to Empire's End. That was
yeah.
like the first full line I ever read. And I don't have them physically. I read them online. That's how I found them. But I just really, my favorite thing about it was how, to me, it seemed like the Empire unleashed, Palpatine unleashed. We're seeing the full potential, full power, because no longer is it like the Empire controlled by the Sith, got to keep it a little secret, keep it on the down low.
Yeah.
No, now we're on a theocracy. We're like,
Mm,
this is the Sith Empire now. And that was really great to me. I loved how Dark Empire was like a fusion of sci-fi and fantasy.
mm,
It was like the embodiment of what Star Wars is, a sci fantasy,
yeah.
because you have like this ancient um art, not art, this like what is the term, dark fantasy vibe with
Yeah.
this high tech vibe all piled together. I really love all the different droids, the troopers,
Mm,
the vehicles, and the place is also unique. um yeah, it was just really great. It's like the Empire, I mean the New Republic's becoming the rebellion again. Like
yeah.
this is where the Empire wins,
Mm,
basically. But obviously they didn't. But to me, that was
mm,
like, oh, they're winning now. They're not losing.
yeah. Uh, those are great perspectives in regards to kind of a defense of Dark Empire. I hadn't thought of it in the terms of where it's like now it's truly a Sith Empire, but that's so right.
Yeah,
That's so true. I love that. Uh, that makes me appreciate it more. In regards to, um, I know we're kind of jumping back a little bit back and forth between some of the stuff you mentioned, but jumping back over to the Clone Wars. Something else that I wanted to ask you because you said that you grew up on the Clone Wars show. I did as well. I was a little kid when it was finishing up, so I saw like season 5 and 6 when it came out. I caught like the tail end of it, and I grew up with it too. I really enjoyed it, but as I got older, I got into like the Clone Wars multimedia project, and the two aren't always consistent with each other. They sometimes clash here and there with continuity. Do you think they can go together? Which do you prefer? What are your thoughts on their like kind of different interpretations of the Clone Wars era?
see, I started with Clone Wars 2008 with a sprinkle of the multimedia project here and there, but I had never known that it was like a replacement, basically, like
Yeah.
it overrode everything. So I grew up with the show. loved it, loved all the characters. But then as I was getting more and more into Star Wars, I was reading these old comics, these old books, and kind of learning like this stuff is different. This is like
Yeah.
overridden. And so over time I came to like the multimedia project more because its view of the war, it was more gritty,
Yeah.
more of like a war. There was more loss, and it really it really followed Anakin's fall to the dark side. Like he's constantly struggling, and like in 2008 Clone Wars, all the characterizations are great. You know, Anakin's very relatable, funny, but for me, I feel like his falls are few and far between. Like he'll be um, really charismatic and having a great time, and you have like a dip here and there, you know.
Yeah.
But 2003, he's struggling the whole time, and you're seeing everything contributing to Episode 3. And for me, like 2008 Clone Wars, I was like, this Anakin doesn't feel like from 2 to 3, very moody,
Yeah.
very dark, brooding. Um, whether that's good or bad as a character, like on screen. Because 2008 Anakin, great portrayal, but to me, the multimedia project Anakin, it was just more consistent. Like from 2 to 3, I'm seeing a clear line
Mm.
from those two characters, everything that's happening in between. But when you have the newer Clone Wars, it's kind of like you got Episode 2, his mom just died, he killed Tusken Raiders. But he's happy. You know, he's all up here. And in Episode 3, back down. It just didn't really
Yeah.
make sense to me. But I can understand. You know, Anakin 2008, great character. For me, I just came to feel like 2008 Clone Wars was more of like propaganda. You know, like it was like uplifting, whereas the other way was just really down lifting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but the way I view it, like canonically, I see it multiple ways. Like I feel like, at least personally, I feel like the 2003 Clone Wars, that is like what happened.
Mm.
Um, and I view 2008 Clone Wars as like a HoloNet broadcast, basically. Like
Yeah.
every beginning of every episode, you have Yularen or whoever, who is the I don't know if it's the same. Is it the same character, the narrator and Yularen, or is it just the same voice? Did they
I
ever?
assumed it was, but I don't remember if they ever said officially on that or not. But yeah, it's like the same voice that starts each one over the whole duration of the run, right?
Yeah, because that's what my thing was. Is like Yularen, you know, ISB agent. Maybe this is like a Empire propaganda broadcast, looking
Mm.
back on the glory days of the Clone Wars. But whenever I'm looking at sources where they combine the two, I feel like you have the timeline of 2003 and 2008, and just kind of interweave and
Yeah.
outerweave for different things. Like certain events they cross over, and certain
Mhm.
they take away. Like 2003, Anakin's a Padawan the whole half of the war, and then he gets his trial, his knighthood. But in 2008, right from the get go, he's a knight. You know,
Mhm.
obviously I like the old way better. That's just me. But that's where I feel like, okay, 2003. But then you have stuff like, trying to think of an example, um, where it crosses over. But yeah, you'll just have sometimes where it crosses over. Both are true. Both work. I just view them as separate, honestly. Every now and then bring together.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at too. Like maybe some of the events happened, especially like where reference, like an example would be like Darth Plagueis or Fate of the Jedi. I mentioned like TCW working in tandem with the Clone Wars multimedia project. Abel G. Pina's like Skywalker's novel
Mm-hmm.
also like made an effort to make them kind of merge. So like perhaps some the events that are like mentioned did happen, but like overall, yeah, that's a compelling element for like propaganda reflecting back saying, "See, we were the good guys. We've vanquished those separatists for your safety, and we're still here now." You know, and it's kind of propaganda like that. That's kind of the same place that I'm at on that. I really appreciated your thoughts there on that because it's definitely an interesting issue because they're not consistent, but they're both good in their own ways. So it's definitely interesting for us as kind of a fan base to try and reconcile TCW with the multimedia project.
Yeah, and like you have stuff like Atlas tries to bring them together, and I
Yeah,
think at some points where both come together is really great. Like for instance,
definitely.
with the old Marvel comics, you would think that, oh, this is crazy. This doesn't
Yeah.
go in Star Wars. But then you have works like by Pena, like Skywalker's or
Mm.
his articles, where it's just weaving it back into the universe, making it
Yep.
work. And I really appreciate things that really try to make everything work together rather than keep everything separate, ostracize certain
Yes.
content, bring it all into one continuity.
100%, 100%. That's the stuff that I love too. Like we mentioned the holiday special earlier. How easy it would
Mhm.
have been to just ostracize that, but
Yeah.
instead they like brought it back into continuity. Just absolutely love that
Mhm.
stuff. And speaking of works that do that, one that we both have shown a lot of support for is
Yeah.
Supernatural Encounters, which you've
Mhm.
got behind you with those tomes. How were you introduced to Supernatural Encounters, and what are your thoughts on it?
I was introduced. Um, oh, I just knocked everything over.
Oh
Um,
boy.
yeah, I was introduced to Supernatural Encounters through YouTube.
Mm.
Um, I would watch a lot of lore YouTube videos.
Yeah.
My lights just flickered. Um,
Typho Gem.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The book came out and the lights come off. Um, I Eckhart's Ladder, Corey's
Yeah,
Egghead, Geetsly, Meta Nerds Lore,
of
um,
course.
Star Wars Reading Club. I was really a big fan of Eckhart's though because he really took deep dives, and he was partially my inspiration for doing TikToks.
Yeah.
Uh, because my favorite thing was watching a video on this topic and like, oh, I want to find the book this came from. This is interesting, and so then I get the book, read it, and I'm like, okay, wow, I know like what this is now. He did some video. He did a couple. It was probably like I don't remember. It's probably like weirdest things in the galaxy, most powerful beings, or like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
unknown region, something like that. And he
Mm.
mentioned Talatni and the Bedlam spirits. And he showed this like the original cover for online. He showed that book and mentioned it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's something I've never heard before. And I found another YouTube video. It was like I don't know who made it. I forget, but it was like him hyping up Supernatural Encounters, talking about it. And so that's when I finally emailed Joe in the
Mm.
middle of my college marketing class, sitting in the
Mm.
front row, emailing Joe. Uh, it's like, so you still making this? And yeah, so and that's where I really took the deep dive there.
Yeah. And now you have that hardcover backer copy, which is beautiful, and I see the Amazon
Yeah,
prints back there as well.
I
Uh,
yeah, I gotta, you know,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, absolutely. The signed copy and everything. It's glorious. Joe's done an incredible job, like in interacting with all of us, um, making sure that we were able to access it if we wanted to and take the deep dive. It's been really great. What are your thoughts on the work so far overall? What do
I
you think about it?
finished it not too long ago,
Yeah.
and at times I was very confused, very lost, but I
Same.
pushed through. Um, but I think it's amazing. Like every
Mm,
page, every sentence, lore everywhere,
yeah.
no matter what you're looking at. Um, I feel like this is like the biggest and best work to like really weave everything together, bringing in
Yes.
the Marvel, but even beyond that, every single piece of obscure works, lost and forgotten.
Yeah.
Like this is tying the whole Star Wars together, making it work. It's
Mm.
just yeah, this is just like the entire continuity in one book.
Yes. Yes. It really is. It really is. It's absolutely incredible. How long did it take you to get through it? It took me months upon months to get through Supernatural Encounters. How long did it take you to read through that huge work?
When did it come out? Like last summer or last
It
September or
ca-
something?
yeah, it was like tail end of last summer that sort of those PDFs were starting to come out.
I it took me. I read book 1 and 2 pretty quick. Uh,
Same. Yeah.
book 3 took a few months, and then I finished it. But when the full thing came out, I restarted, and from you gotta look at the table of contents here. From book 1 to book 4 or 5, it was like scattered, like a few months in between. Had to take brain breaks because it was just too much knowledge.
Yes.
But when I reached Dejaric, whatever chapter that is,
Mm.
whatever book that is, oh, okay, chapter 52, book something, book 5. Once I hit page 500, then I like a whole week straight finished the book. Was that
Nice.
500 pages? Yeah, it was nonstop. I was like, okay, we're really going now.
You were in just like locked in. Let's
Yeah.
read it mode for that
Mm-hmm.
week. Amazing, amazing. What are some of your favorite lore aspects about the work? Was there stuff in there that surprised you? Stuff that you didn't expect? Stuff that you really enjoyed? Clarification on stuff that you wanted clarified?
My what was the biggest interest for me was the pre-Republic stuff, which is like
Mm,
most of the book.
yeah.
Because you have a central atlas and then
Yep.
warfare, and they
Mm-hmm.
touch on celestials, Rakata, Sharu, Gree, all those fun people, and it was kind of like a mystery. Like you're hearing about this massive conflict that supposedly happened, but we have next to nothing about it, and that's something like that I needed to know.
Yeah.
Um, and so all of that content really like clarification on who's the architects, who's the celestials,
Yes.
what role did all these other races play, where did humans come from, all these
Mm,
questions answered for once. I and I liked how it added more to the Old Republic, Tales of the Jedi,
mm. Yeah.
SWOTOR, all that new stuff from SWOTOR. I forget the species, but there's just the advanced races we see, just learning where they come from, where everything fits in the universe.
Yes.
Questions? Probably too many to say, but I haven't read the end notes yet, so I need to read the end notes. So then I'll
They
know.
are
Yeah.
certainly infernal, and they
Mm-hmm.
certainly go on for a while.
Yeah.
The fun stuff that you really hit the nail on the head with one of the main points of interest for me with Supernatural Encounters as well. Like with Essential Guide to Warfare, Essential Atlas, I was so just fascinated by like all this like pre-Republic history because it's like in our world we have like prehistoric history as well, like fragments from here and there. We don't know the full story, the full picture for some of these like ancient cultures, and it's the same way like that in Star Wars. And one of my all-time favorite parts of Star Wars is Neutron in Flames, which is the like Geltong War from the Guide to Warfare. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we got that whole
Definitely.
chapter in Supernatural Encounters about it, I was like in heaven because that's exactly what I wanted out of it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Because like the way it's given only warfare, you're like, are the humans from Coruscant? The Tong are also there. How did these
Yeah.
humans and reptiles evolve in the same world? Where
Mm-hmm.
does Earth fit in? Like it's like I don't think humans are from Coruscant. The reptile people, no. But yeah, if it finally gives that clarification, and it the biggest thing for this book is how much it mirrors our actual history.
Mm.
Like Neutron with the Tong and the humans, that's like Native Americans. Like we got the Tong Trail, the
Yeah.
tears all the way to Rune,
Yeah, absolutely.
and just the ancient gods and all that stuff, Greek, Roman, uh, Canaanite, all those connections, parallels,
Definitely.
amazing.
Yeah, it mirrors like uncomfortable parts of our history with like
Mhm.
forcing out of their land, forcing off of the planet kind of stuff. I really appreciate where Joe was willing to go with like forging out this like ancient history of the galaxy. Just really, really, really well done. It I found that the work like made me think more than I thought it was going to, like philosophical matters. Like I was
Mhm.
expecting it to be like a history book, but we also got like lessons in philosophy and all of this kind of stuff. It just was very impressive. What?
Silmarillion of Star
Yeah,
Wars.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. What were you expecting going into the work? Like, I've talked about this a few times, but I was never expecting to love the work as much as I did. I thought I'd like it, but I didn't think I'd be like as impressed as I ended up being. Or were you the same way, or were you expecting to love it as much as you did?
Oh, I knew I was gonna love it. I knew like all these questions I had this entire untouched period of Star Wars. Like I knew I was gonna just gobble that up.
Yeah,
Um, I didn't expect all of the like how far the references went, like how much obscure content it pulled, and how it even tackled like the between different IPs. Like you have like little Easter eggs, like
yeah,
ET, Aliens versus Predator, Star
yep,
Trek. You have
mm-hmm,
some Easter eggs here and there in the books and the comics, but it actually explains how those tie in.
yes,
And it gives, and I love how it gives the freedom. It's like it's not saying yes, Star Wars and Star Trek, same
mm-hmm,
universe. It gives you the freedom to say, okay, it's just a coincidence, or it's not, or it is. And so it's really good that the work doesn't push itself in a corner to
yes.
make everything work.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't like put it itself in a box or like
Mhm.
stick to one thing. It's open to possibility. I absolutely
And
adore that aspect
interpretation.
of it. Definitely,
Yeah.
lots of interpretation,
Mhm.
lots of it, especially in regards to like Appendix C near the end.
Mhm.
Like lots of just really wacky stuff out there that's just so fun to talk about and
Skippy.
dissect. Of course, we
Finally
gotta
some
love
love.
Skippy. Finally, Skippy was forgotten, but we pulled him back in, and he got the love he deserved.
It always worked in my heart. I always knew he was.
Yeah, yeah. Skippy is a fun story. Skippy is a fun story for sure. In regards to your content creation on TikTok, you've amassed what I think is quite an impressive following on there with your lore related videos. I think it's very important because expanding universe legends content, like we have a lot of it here on YouTube. There's a lot of like EU legends, like servers on Discord, subreddits on Reddit, lots of posters and content creators on like Instagram and all of those places. But I really hadn't thought about TikTok as like an avenue for showing support for like the old timeline, the old continuity. So it's really important work that you're doing, spreading like awareness about it, information about it, lore from it over there. So first of all, thank you for that. And you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier how kind of Eckhart's Ladder was one of your inspirations for it. What's the full story of your inspiration for it? When did you get into it? What's the schedule like? What do you think the reception's been like? And do you think it's a great avenue for this content?
So, uh, I had been watching YouTube, and that was before I really see. I feel like high school, I knew a lot. Like I had my niches that I really deep dived in, but I hadn't read too much, at least since intermediate school. Here and there, I haven't had like a full picture, and so I would watch the lore videos, which were great. Um, I think it was 2018 or 2019 when I actually started doing a semi chronological read through. Started with Thrawn trilogy, and I just kind of went forward, jumped back, and all that stuff. But But before I did that, it was the YouTube, and for me, Eckhart's Ladder, he really goes into like these deeper topics. He doesn't just talk about like these surface level things or just copy paste the Wikipedia into a video. Him and Corey, they do really good stuff. And so for me, it inspired me to read, to find the stuff they're talking about, because I don't want surface level summaries. I want to know like what is this that they're talking about. And so that's when I started doing my read through. And when I was doing my read through, um, I really gravitated towards obscure things.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's where, especially Clone Wars, because I went from Thrawn trilogy and I went all the way back to Plagueis and then started chronological from the Clone Wars. Um, but but yeah, I just really got myself into like niches here and there, and so I would talk. I had my friends; they were more casual fans. They weren't deep diving, and so I would be telling them this lore and stuff like that. Type in full paragraphs, reference images, and I got sick of that. Just lore dumping on a Snapchat, and so I decided, I can make a TikTok for them. I can, put it in a simple, low quality video and just send it. And so I started doing that. I made my first video in a Costco parking lot, which is great. Started with Star Wars in a
It
Costco,
ties back.
and then yeah,
It's all
was
connected.
yeah, it wasn't the same Costco though, so that would have been even better. But and I remember my first 4 videos, uh, they were doing really good, thousands of views. One of them went up to like 15K,
Oh
and
wow.
so um, and I was really talking about obscure stuff. My first video, um, I was really into trooper variants as a kid, so I just continued that. I did the Force Unleashed, PS2, the heavy troopers, and then I did Blaze troopers from the Revenge of the Sith game, and then other vehicles. That was my thing, troopers and vehicles. That was like my main thing, and that really went far. And I got 10K pretty quickly, like really fast. I think TikTok, like artificially, put my videos out there. I mean, for the best. I personally feel like the content is high quality, but like the production's low quality, just for time getting it out
Yeah.
there. But yeah, after that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna run with this. I can keep doing
Yeah.
obscure topics. And the thing that's really good about TikTok as a medium is that it's short, like 30 seconds, minute, 2 minute. So I'm able to talk about these really obscure little blurbs. Maybe they only have like a paragraph or a sentence of lore. You can't make
Yeah.
that into a YouTube video,
Mm-hmm.
but on TikTok, you can really get super deep in there. Just like a minute video, just like background, what the thing is, analysis, and you're done. It's
Yep.
like a minute long, 2 minutes long. And like it's something most people never even heard of before. They probably just looked over it doing read throughs or never saw it before. Um, and so that was really what was TikTok was good for, was small things like that. And for me, I feel like when I started, most of the people were posting canon. So it was like, oh, we're getting the new season 7 of Clone Wars, or we're getting Mandalorian. So a lot of people were posting for that.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see hardly any Legends content. Most of it was like a fusion, like we're going to talk about canon, we're going to talk about Legends. That's what most of the things were. And so for me, um, I felt like I'm probably not the first purely Legends creator. I don't want to say that, but I feel like there wasn't I never at least saw any. So that's why I feel like I filled that niche and it blew up quick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I'm very glad it did. What's your schedule like? How often do you post? And do you think that there is a maybe underestimated size of Star Wars Legends, Star Wars Expanded Universe fans on TikTok? Do you think that there's quite a sizable community over there? that people might not think about when accounting for like how many EU Legends fans we have kind of in our fandom?
I I feel like on TikTok there was, there's a good number, but I feel like most of the audience is like new to Star Wars. Like their
Yeah.
introduction is canon, and I feel like a good number of them are willing to learn about all this stuff. You're like, what's Legends? What's expanded universe? Like I feel like a massive part of the audience is just like trying to learn, and I feel like that's really good. What was the first part of the question?
What's the
Oh,
schedule
schedule. Okay,
for?
yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly, just anytime. Because what's good about TikTok is that like I can do it anywhere I want. I could be at work, make a video, post it. Um, my content, it's like high quality content, but the video itself is like low quality. And because the way it works is like I type up a script on a Google Docs. Each number point is a different image associated with that. And so then I line up all the images, I copy paste the text, and I put text to speech,
yeah,
change the length to the voice, and that's it. That's the whole video. And like, I definitely could and should improve the quality because over time, the following and view count is tapering off. But for me, it's all about convenience because I don't really um, have a sporadic work schedule, so I can't just make a day to edit a video with,
yeah,
you know, make it look really nice. Um, TikTok is just that convenience. I can do it in the break room at work. I can do it at home, take an
yeah.
hour, make a video, and done. It's posted. So I try to post once a day. Sometimes it's every few days. Sometimes TikTok is dumb and they just completely take the views no matter what.
Yeah.
The video just never goes out, no matter what the content is. And so I'll just take a week break, let the algorithm come back up. Um, but yeah, I try to do like between 4 and 6 o'clock. That's where I
Nice.
found it at. TikTok doesn't want to screw me over.
Gotcha. Nice. Well, it's really cool that you've been able to accumulate a following over there and be able to spread this really cool, in-depth, obscure lore over to that platform. And it's great that it's convenient for you to be able to put this stuff out there. It's great work. So thank you for what you're doing and spreading awareness to people who might not have heard of some of this stuff. I think it's really important, really great for pulling people kind of into our fandom, our fan base, and our side of things. As an expanding universe Legends fan, it's quite an extreme time commitment to dedicate ourselves to it. A lot of times we have to like track down the books to be able to read them. We have to find them, accumulate them. Sometimes it can be costly. We have to search for them online. Then we have to read them. So we do have to spend quite a lot of time investing into it. For someone who's new to Star Wars, who's a fan of the Star Wars universe, would you recommend going down the rabbit hole, learning more about the Legends expanded universe? Would you tell them that the time commitment is worth it? What would your advice be to this hypothetical new fan who might be interested in taking a dive into the waters?
See, like with the EU, before Disney came, uh, like Star Wars movies and the expanded universe, that was the continuity. It wasn't just two separate things. It was all together. Like that was Star Wars. That was everything. Like you have the movies, but what happens between them and around them, that's stuff that George can't tell.
Yeah,
Um, that is the story. And then with canon, you have all this like everything that's like the basic building blocks of the universe, like the galaxy map, all these different planets, stuff like that, these certain characters. Like a lot of that comes from the EU, and it's just considered like the foundation of the universe. Like the galaxy map, like it's the same map in canon, but we never saw that in the movies. So I feel like the
yeah,
expanded universe is like that's like a part of the core foundation of Star Wars, and that's what canon
yes.
draws on.
Yeah.
And like sometimes there's truth in legends.
Mm.
Like the legends is like sometimes it can be true. It can be a good way
Yeah.
to see where stuff's going forward. Um, and like for getting into the EU, Wikipedia is there. You can go deep dive on whatever article you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I did, read the articles. But the main thing is like the sources. I can see where this is coming from, what books. And that's how I was like knowing what I wanted to buy and read. Utini.com, they have timelines, canon and legends. You can see where everything lines up. That was a great resource for me when I started out. Um, they have comics too in the timelines, but that's how I was going to see what am I going to read next. And and you don't have to buy like a brand new book. I get all
Yeah.
mine off of thrift books. I don't buy brand new like this Mall Shadow Hunter original. It's yeah, see it still has the tag. And
Yeah.
like what is this, like $3? It's
Mm.
got New Gun Ray. He got uh someone obviously didn't like New Gun Ray, but the book's still great condition. Yoda Dark Rendezvous, thrift books, perfect.
Yeah.
It's just got that messed up. So it's inexpensive to even get into the EU. Just cough up $3-4, get a book. You don't have to go to Barnes and Noble, pay $20 for Essential Legends collection,
Yeah. Very true.
or the same Legends banner book. Pay $15 for this. You can get it $3 online.
Yeah.
And there's even like resources to like for the comics. Don't know how legal it is, but read comic books online.li. I think it's
Yep.
French or Russian. You just slap a ad block on there, and you got every comic you could ever want, canon and legends.
Absolutely. And those ad blocks are important for those sites.
Oh God, yes. So yeah, it's just completely inexpensive. Like there's
Yeah.
like the only hurdle would be just the sheer amount of content. But
Mm.
it's good to just chisel away at whatever piques your interest. Just
Mm.
get that and
Yeah.
branch out from those little uh, footholds.
It's good advice. As we sort of wrap up towards a close, one of the last questions that I would have is: would you like to see a continuation from Lucasfilm of the expanded universe slash Legends in any way? And if you would, what sort of content would you like to see from them? More books, more video games, more comics, a show, a movie? What era? What kind of stuff would you want to see if you would indeed want to see a continuation of Legends material?
For me, it would probably be it would just be great to just recognize it more, support it more. Um, like whoever wants to make, well, because like you have people like Abel Pena
Yeah,
and Joe Borgiorno, just more recognition, like for like supernatural encounters, like all these like late stage EU works.
yeah,
Um, just being able to tie stuff up, because like I don't think I would trust to new books, new comics. I think it would be more like, for me at least, just like how it used to be, like web articles tying
yeah,
up loose ends, because there's still some loose ends there. There's still some storylines we didn't get to tell, um,
absolutely.
and I think it would just be great to allow, back on the Star Wars blog, allow these articles to be made. Maybe
Yes,
by Abel, maybe by Joe, just being able to really just like bring the continuity to a better close, fill in the potholes that are still left.
absolutely. That's like a dream. If
Mhm.
literally that was all we got, like a website that has like the Legends banner on the top and was like new articles and source material, wouldn't that be a dream? That would be amazing. I'd love to see it. La- Thank you
Bare
for
minimum.
coming on with me today, man. Thanks for coming to talk about the
Thank
expanding
you.
universe and your journey. Is there any place that you'd like to plug? Obviously, the TikTok account and stuff will be linked in the description. Any future plans? Any place you'd like to promote before we get out of here?
Um, yeah, TikTok. Hopefully, YouTube, working that out, a little difficult. Hopefully I can start doing more long form, obscure topics, more deep dives, especially with this.
Absolutely.
but yeah, I think that's it for me. It's keeping the TikTok going right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your content over there. Thank you for the good work that you've been doing. Excited about the possibility of a
Mm-hmm.
YouTube account talking about supernatural encounters, maybe expanding on some of those, some long form content for some of those obscure shorts over on the TikTok. Very promising, exciting idea. Hope to see it sometime this year. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for spending your
Thank
time
you
with
so
me
much.
today.
Yes, thank you.
You're an awesome guy, so thank you for sharing your perspectives. You're welcome on the channel anytime. Anytime you'd want to come on discuss a topic. Appreciate you coming on, man. And
Thank you.
yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Have a great day.